Belly fat is something we all want to reduce, whether it's a beer belly or just that stubborn last piece of fat covering the lower abdomen. Having a more defined belly is always an advantage as it makes you appear fitter, more attractive, and healthier. Unfortunately, regardless of whether you're trying to get ready for beach vacations or simply aiming to boost your confidence, the path to a slimmer waistline can definitely feel like a tough battle, where you have to fight for every inch you lose, except the moment you break your diet. All that fat seems to come back seemingly overnight. So today, I want to give you something actionable, tips you can use to start losing that belly fat for good. The first one is for those who don't want to count calories, don't want to obsess over meal prep, and want a very simple way to quickly start burning excess belly fat, combining fasting with single-ingredient, natural foods. This is the simplest way to get the job done. You have 1 or 2 meals a day, and you fill those meals with single-ingredient foods that grow from the ground or walk on the ground. With this strategy, you can eat until you're full without worrying about overeating because these are very natural foods. You won't find them in a pretty little box down the inner aisles of the supermarket, but instead, these foods come in their original form and are mostly found around the outer perimeter of the store. This kind of food is very filling and has a low calorie density, which means there are very few calories within large quantities of these foods. So, your stomach naturally starts to feel satisfied with a very low amount of calories. And if you fill your stomach with low-calorie density foods just once or twice a day, you're essentially guaranteed to end up with a significant calorie deficit, making your body extract energy from your fat reserves, including belly fat, without much thought throughout the process. The downside is it may take a bit of time to adapt to simply skipping breakfast if you're doing 2 meals a day or waiting until dinner if you're just doing 1 meal a day. But I guarantee you, after just a week or 2 of fasting, your body will become very adapted, altering your hunger patterns and even changing when hunger hormones are released, such as ghrelin versus satiety hormones like leptin. This brings me to the next tip. To make this kind of diet or almost any type of calorie deficit plan for fat loss work optimally, you need to prioritize protein with a single ingredient. Protein sources include foods like chicken breast, ground beef, steak, salmon, white fish, turkey, shrimp, shellfish, tuna, eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese. And also, if you're vegetarian or vegan, you can opt for products like black bean pasta, seitan, and tofu, which are actually quite protein-rich without any animal-derived ingredients. You want to prioritize protein for several reasons. First off, protein is extremely filling. Remember, the goal is to fill your stomach and feel satisfied with your meals without consuming too many calories in the process. Well, protein is perfect for that because not only is it very filling, but it also costs calories just to digest. This is known as the thermic effect of protein. Foods have a much higher thermic effect than fats or carbohydrates. Its thermic effect is 20 to 35%. Compared to 5 to 15% for fats and carbohydrates, this means 20 to 35% of the calories you ingest from protein sources will be used just to digest and assimilate the nutrients found in that food. In addition to all that, protein also helps you build and maintain muscles. As long as you're getting at least 0.73 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day, for most men that will work out to about 1 to 2 pounds of animal source protein per day. And that's another tip. Base your workouts around the purpose of building muscles rather than burning fat. I know it's counterintuitive, but your muscles are metabolically active tissues that require substantial amounts of energy to maintain. This forces your body to burn more calories, even at rest. So, you should be performing strength-based exercises like deadlifts, squats, bench presses, pull-ups, and rows, with an average of 6 to 10 repetitions per set while using heavy weight. Your goal should be to keep increasing that weight as you do this. Over time, your muscle fibers will undergo microscopic tears, and this will trigger repair and growth repeatedly. Again, this process is known as muscle protein synthesis, which in itself requires energy and triggers a heightened metabolic rate, allowing you to continue burning more calories even after you've finished exercising. In addition to all of this, increasing muscle mass will enhance insulin sensitivity, leading to better glucose regulation and minimization of fat storage. This is a big issue that most people don't talk about and don't understand that muscle literally helps you stay lean. And if your muscles are underdeveloped, you'll always find it much harder to keep the belly fat away. To better illustrate this, understand that your muscles fill up with glycogen, which is essentially sugar or carbohydrates that have been stored inside your muscles to provide energy for them to contract and work. When you lift heavy weights, you deplete a lot of that glycogen. So when you eat, let's say, a bunch of fruits and other healthy, carbohydrate-rich foods, the glucose that those carbohydrates break down into can now be stored inside those depleted muscle glycogen. However, if you have insulin insensitivity and your glycogen stores are full, it's much more likely that you'll store carbohydrates as fat. Essentially, you can eat more carbohydrates by building more muscles and engaging in strength-based activities without those carbohydrates spilling over into your fat stores. So, instead of focusing solely on cardiovascular exercises, prioritizing strength training is an evidence-based approach to not only sculpting your physique, but also making the process a more efficient and sustainable way of losing and keeping belly fat away. Back to your diet. Another thing to prioritize is fruits and vegetables. If you have 1 or 2 meals a day and you only eat protein-rich fruits and vegetables, it's just a matter of time until your belly completely disappears. When you eat your meals, I recommend eating the protein and vegetables first because they tend to be less palatable than fruits. Fruits are naturally sweet, and if you have a sweet tooth, you can eat a lot of fruits in a short amount of time, taking in a relatively high amount of glucose that can spill over into fat storage. Starting your meal with filling vegetables and protein sources, you'll crave significantly fewer fruits afterward. While some fruits are higher in calories than others, some of the lowest calorie fruits, which are also very filling and highly nutritious, include strawberries, blackberries, raspberries, watermelon, and apples. But again, the goal is to eat until you're full to make this sustainable plan, and that's important because you have to be consistent long enough for the belly fat to really melt away. That's actually the next tip: consistency. Every time you start a diet, realize it requires a lot of work, and then give up, you've set yourself back significantly because belly fat is the last place your body releases from, but it's also the first place where your body prefers to store fat. That's why I recommend you eat fewer times per day rather than the mainstream recommendation of eating 5 or 6 small meals per day. There's less thought, less preparation, less stress, and less room for error. By sticking to single-ingredient foods, you can eat big meals until your stomach is full, so you don't have to feel deprived, making the plan more sustainable. Most people will tell you to control and micromanage your portions, but with the strategy I'm talking about today, you can eat until you're satisfied. You don't need to count your calories. You actually have much more freedom and much less stress. Your body will also feel significantly better, sticking mostly to real single-ingredient sources of protein-rich fruits and vegetables. This is because these foods are packed with nutrients, and a diet that makes you feel better is much easier to follow. But the only way for you to stick with this plan is if you really enjoy the meals you're eating. And that's why the next tip is to definitely include carbohydrates and fats in reasonable amounts. That we haven't talked much about fats or carbohydrates beyond fruits. Now, I don't want you to worry about protein sources that are high in fat, like steak and salmon. Just count that towards the pound to 2 pounds of protein you need to eat per day. When I'm talking about fats that make your meals more enjoyable, I'm mostly referring to butter and oils that are very calorie-dense. But you should add enough fat to make your meals actually taste good, since the meals themselves will be relatively low in calories as they are, and you'll be eating these meals infrequently, usually 1 to 3 tablespoons of oil in the form of butter, avocado oil, olive oil, or coconut. Oil should be totally fine within a meal. Combine that with flavorful all-purpose seasonings like adobo, and you can make some really delicious, high-protein vegetable-based meals. As for carbohydrates, you should know that starchy carbohydrates are much easier to overeat than protein-rich fruits and vegetables. That's why, as a general guideline, try to limit yourself to 1 to 2 servings of starchy carbohydrates per day. 1 serving equals a package of Uncle Ben's brown rice or a baked potato. Mixing in a bit of rice into your vegetable stir-fry can make the meal taste significantly better. This, again, if it helps you stay consistent, is more than worth it. In combination with weightlifting, most of those carbohydrates will be stored in your muscles as glycogen and not as fat, and they'll be depleted and used as fuel for your heavy-duty workouts, once again allowing you to replenish your glycogen stores. Now, the last and final tip, which is extremely important, is getting enough sleep and managing your stress levels. Sleep and stress are often overlooked topics when it comes to burning belly fat. However, scientific research clearly shows how detrimental not sleeping and stressing can be for burning belly fat. Sleep is intricately linked to your body's metabolic processes. Disruptions to sleep patterns or not getting enough sleep can disrupt hormonal balance, leading to fluctuations in appetite-regulating hormones that I mentioned before, like leptin and ghrelin. More often than not, it leads to increased cravings for calorie-rich foods and reduced self-control. Chronic stress often goes hand in hand with lack of sleep, triggering the release of cortisol, a stress hormone that, in excess, can promote remote fat storage, especially in the abdominal area. Elevated cortisol levels contribute to insulin resistance and inflammation, both playing significant roles in the development and accumulation of belly fat. So, meditating even for a short period of 5 to 10 minutes every morning has been proven to drastically reduce stress. Meanwhile, establishing a consistent sleep pattern, where you'll go to bed at the same time every night and wake up at the same time every day, while blocking out noise and light, is the best way to optimize your sleep. Do your best to ensure you sleep at least 7 to 9 hours per night to build muscles and burn fat optimally. So, wrap it up. Keep in mind that in this video I'm trying to give you the simplest and most practical steps you can take immediately to start burning belly fat without thinking too much about the process at all. This is by no means the only way to do it. You can burn a lot of fat by eating 6 meals a day or sticking to certain diet preferences, be it keto, vegetarian, carnivore, or carb cycling. There are many plans that work if you want a more personalized approach. I hope these practical and simple tips have been helpful for you to start your journey toward a healthier and more active life. If you enjoyed the content and want to receive more guidance on wellness, nutrition, and fitness, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Believe me, it's the right choice to stay informed and motivated. Together, we can achieve our health and wellness goals. Subscribe now and be part of this community dedicated to your success. Until the next video, and remember, your journey to a healthier life starts here.